Hello everyone, welcome back. Well, this time we're still going to travel around Switzerland, but we're now going to be in the central part of Switzerland, and it's also the cradle of Swiss history. Now, this is a map of Lake Lucerne, or as in Switzerland they call it Vierwaldstättersee. So I want to draw your attention to the four parts. One is Lucerne, and then we have the Rigi, and then we got the Burgenstock and also the Pilatus, and we're all gonna keep those names gonna keep coming up. Now in 1291, the local folks got fed up with the Habsburgs, and they three regions of Uri, Schweiz, and Unterwalden got together, and they swore allegiance against the Habsburg, and that was basically the founding of Switzerland. Now these are the weapon or the coat of arms of the different provinces. This is Uri and Schweiz. That Schweiz was where the original capital of the provinces or cantons was, and then there was Unterwalden. Now Unterwalden eventually split up, and so you have Nidwalden and you got Obwalden, and you see a similar coat of arms, but it's the keys are just reversed and they actually get split up. Now on this map, this is actually the Rigi, and it's showing all the different transportation systems. There you got ski lifts, trains, gondolas. So if you look at the top arrow, that is Art Goldau. That's where we started out. And then the second arrow is we're halfway up Rigi Klösterli, and there we got off the train and we hiked all the way up to the top. And then eventually we took a train down on the other side, and where you see the blue arrow. Well, we started at the very top and we ended up with the blue arrows, and we ended up down in the town of Vitznau, where we ended up taking the boat to Lucerne. Anyway, let's start on the journey. So we arrived in Art Goldau by train, and then we had to transfer to go up the mountain railway. And you can see on the track, because it's a mountain railway, has a cogwheel. You see the sprockets in the middle. So up the mountain we go, and now we're in Klösterli, and you can see these guys are actually also for the farmers collecting the milk and take it down the valley so milk could be processed into, I guess, pasteurized milk or whatever, and some of that milk would go to the cheesemakers as well. And now we're looking over the little hamlet of Klösterli, and on the top right you see the Hotel des Alpes. Yeah, there's a little better shot, and we're going to talk a little more about that later. Well, the train keeps on going, but from now on we're hiking. It's all exercise from now on up. And here is Paul and Therese, and they're the ones who treated us for this journey. Looking back down, we're going up and up. Well, it looks like we're not the only ones up. Looks like the farmer coming along. I guess he needed to get some supplies further down, or maybe went up to check up on his cattle. And here we go. Now we're the same height as Hotel des Alpes. Now the reason why Hotel des Alpes is important to me is like our mother, when she was, I guess, about 20 years old, she worked there, and I think that was her happiest days. And anyway, she there was a big family there, and of course it was very basic hotel. It wasn't a fancy 5-star hotel, but things were clean, and they actually produced their own milk, their own butter, and so it was a family affair. They also had a hotel in the valley that in the winter they didn't spend much time up there, and they shut it down and they went down the valley. So anyway, I always had nice memories for us, that. And Mom took us up there sometimes for a weekend trip. And onwards and upwards, you see that tower at the very top there? Well, that's our final destination, so I think we got a bit more walking to do. And you see there's still frost on the grass and roofs in the shady area, but we keep soldiering on. Well, then the fog started to roll in, and also notice how the chimney tops are always so fancy there. I guess there's so much snow. And now we're on top and we're looking over Lake Lucerne, which is underneath the fog. Now in German we have a term, we call this a Nebelmeer, which means a fog ocean, or an ocean of fog, and it does look like you're actually looking over a sea of white water. Anyways, looking south into the Alps. And well, we're not top yet, but we're quite a ways up. Take a little break. Well, and we're looking across to Pilatus, and Pilatus is kind of synonymous with Lucerne. Like if you live in Lucerne, Pilatus is sort of same breath you associate with it. And now we're walking along a path where it gets rather steep, so good thing there's a railing there, because bit of a drop there. Karen thinks it's time for a bit of a break there. Not a bad idea. Well, further on, Karen thinks this would be kind of a fun thing to do, play chess. Now we're actually on the other side of the valley and looking down a pathway that we came up on. And anyway, the sign here says, well, we still have to go another 270 meters to get to the top. So we're kind of debating to take the train or not. So I think we ended up taking the train for the rest of the way. Well, now we're at the very top on the Rigi Kulm, and again looking back over to Pilatus, looking south towards the Alps. And there was this rather modern looking chapel. And in Switzerland you always get rewarded. There's a restaurant at the very top, so if you need a beer, you can have a beer, and if you need some extra strength, you go for a coffee. Well, we're taking the train down the other side, and now we're just approaching Vitznau, and back down in the lake level. Well, we're making a little bit of a jump here to visit Doris, who lives in Nidwalden, and at the bottom of  and so she invited us, and we had a visit with her, but also she took us on a nice little hike up the Burgenstock with her trusty dog. Well, as every dog owner knows, that you say the word, let's go for a walk, well, they're ready to go. So she drove us up 3/4 of the way, and this is hotel that was under renovation. There was apparently new owners and upgrading it, apparently Saudi Arabian money. And anyway, looking back over the lake, and this is actually looking down on the town where Doris lives. Well, we're now over the top and going down on the other side, on the east side, and along the pathway there was instead of just spray paint, somebody made an effort to write some poetry on there, which was actually quite interesting. Now this is looking across the lake towards the Rigi. And I guess it's looking south towards Altdorf and further into the Alps. Well, there's Doris explaining us all the different locations. Karen was a bit jittery on that walk. She was nervous on heights. Anyway, we're taking the ferry back over to the other side, and it was kind of a fun little side trip with Danny and Doris. Well, we're back on track. We're now leaving Vitznau and going up the lake. Well, we're on our way, and you probably wonder what that beautiful building is in the background. But actually, it's called Serenio, which is a center for neurology and rehabilitation. So I guess that's pretty awesome way to get rehabilitated. Anyway, we're moving up the lake, going to Lucerne. Well, we arrived in Lucerne, and looks like there's a happening time there. Well, you all have probably heard or seen pictures of the tower in the water in Lucerne and the walkway. and it's very famous. Also, the buildings along the lake are great. A lot of restaurants. You can sit there in the afternoon and just enjoy the view. Lots of flowers. Some nice sculptures. Shepherd with his sheep. Well, we had a great day, and thanks for Paul and Therese for showing us up the Rigi and part of Lucerne. And you can also see that the Swiss people like using their bikes. No pollution there. Kramgasse 7. Well, in 1971, Karen and I traveled to Switzerland, and we lived in Lucerne for, I guess it was almost a year, and that was our first address there. We had just moved there in January, and we rented a room in Kramgasse 7 in the old part of the city, and it was it was snuggly, and I had a job, and Karen was exploring the city, and it was an interesting place. Of course, there was no showers, so we used to go over to the Y on the weekends to get showers and get cleaned up. And Karen cooked our meals on a fondue set, so that was rather primitive. And we found a restaurant that was run by the Salvation Army, and they had good meals, relatively cheap, so that was usually where we had our main meals. Anyway, so we made a tour of the city with Peter and Claire. So Peter and Claire were kind enough to show us around Lucerne a little bit, and of course that was quite a few years later, and when we lived there. And of course we probably ended up showing them a few spots, but what always intrigued me about Lucerne is of all the different paintings on the buildings, and different motifs, I guess, and sometimes religious, sometimes historical, and sometimes was political, for all the different historical events that happened. But it was really amazing how the paintings lasted so many years. Of course, they're probably being updated once in a while. Well, there's always window shopping, and I guess once in a while you gotta pop in and get something to eat. Whoever painted this thing here had a bit of a wild imagination. Then we also went by the railway station. Now there was a big fire, and that's all that was left of it. So they built a new railway station, and the fire actually happened while we were there in 1971, and Karen just happened to be on one of her walks around the city, and she had a camera with her, and was able to take these pictures. It was quite a sad event because it was a beautiful building, but they made everything new, and underground they got this little mall, and a little heads up for people who want to go visit Switzerland. Make sure you always have some change with you, because some of the washrooms you gotta pay. And this is the art gallery, and was always amazed me because it's new, and how did they manage to design that roof with this huge overhang, And with Switzerland having heavy snow once in a while, they managed to build that and not have it collapsed. Anyway, it's amazing. So Peter and Claire also took us a little bit into Germany. So we went to Waldshut, and it's quite an interesting little city. And they had some interesting displays in the main town square. And we also went to Black Forest, which was quite an interesting trip. Unfortunately, we had a lot of overcast days, but we managed to have a good time. And this is looking over Halvir from Peter and Claire's place. And looks like there's even a scheduled ferry there if you wanted to travel one end of the lake to the other. So we stayed with Peter and Claire for a week, and they took us around and really were great hosts. And we just like to express our gratitude for their hospitality. And there's also Claire's brother Carl, which unfortunately passed away just last year. He had a heart attack, and we sorely miss the fellow. And Carl had invited us for a nice lunch up in the Sentisblick in Echtekron, and that was actually the last time we spent together, and it was a nice memory. Well, and this was also the last time we were able to share with Therese, because she succumbed to cancer, and it's a nice memory that we had there eating that ice cream in Rapperswil. So I'd like to conclude with a quote from Maya Angelou, just in remembrance to Carl and Therese. People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel. Well, we'll see you again next time. So long.